What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Creative Point of View podcast. My name is Ethan.
Noah.
Marquis.
And today we got the boy, Jacob Herr. Give it up, everybody.
What's up?
Glad you're finally on. Long time coming.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
yeah.
Thank you for finally coming on.
Absolutely.
We asked you multiple times.
Finally coming on.
Yeah, bro.
All right.
You declined us the first, 6 times?
All
7?
right. Let me look in the camera real quick. I don't want to expose creative POV like this, but they sign you up last second. And that'll work.
Hey, listen, no, what actually happens is we don't ask people to come on our podcast who, before we even put out our second episode, is critiquing the first
Hey,
one.
that's fact. Hey, that was constructive though.
No, yeah, Holden
It was.
low-key, whenever he name dropped, you were like, he got him.
We appreciate your criticism, though, because it made us better. We understand that the first 3 episodes.
Shout out Jacob and shout out Holden, because
Yes.
I was not about to deal with
Holden
the horrible audio.
Holden is a way maker. He really did make a way.
Waymaker,
Yep.
miracle,
There you go, singing again.
promise keep.
Jacob, tell people about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Herr. I'm 27. I grew up in Des Moines from the east side. And now I am a worship leader, and I lead worship at Lutheran Church of Hope in West Des Moines. So,
East Sider.
yep,
Huh?
East Sider.
Sider.
Hold on.
East Siders on.
Let me give my best fact about myself. I'm married to a lovely lady. Her name is Laura
Shout out
Herr.
Laura.
And we are expecting a baby. Come on.
Amen.
Little baby her.
Yep.
Yes. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I was just saying we've had a lot of East Siders on here lately. I mean, Borg,
true.
Neek. We just had Anthony on.
Yeah, last week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. A lot of East Siders. How was it like growing up in the Des Moines public schools?
Man, I really loved it. I love going to public schools, and I love being an East Sider. I think I saw all demographics and all different kinds of people from different social statuses. It was beautiful. It was a full picture of what the world looks like. I think, and it really shaped me to who I am because, man, there's just so much bad stuff in the world that you get exposed to at a public school really early on. And sometimes that takes away your ignorance. It also takes away your naivety. But it was a good experience. I love being an East High Scarlet alumni. But yeah, I think it's no accident that a lot of the creatives you guys have had from the Des Moines area have been from the East Side, to be honest with you. And they've all been colored too, right?
Yeah, they have.
That's really crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When did you get into music and when did you discover that as kind of your gift?
Man, I got into music like in 4th grade. I remember specifically my choir teacher, she was making every kid do a solo. It was so weird in front of everybody. And then she got to me. She's like, wow, you have a really good voice. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna use it to get girls now. Right? I was like, hey, I ain't got nothing else going for me. I'm not that tall, you
Is
know?
that how you got your wife?
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Hey, she's right there. She's so beautiful. But yeah, no, I definitely started singing and playing guitar more around freshman year of high school and just really started practicing more and getting better in that way. I really was using it as a way to like up my status as a human being, like honestly, because it was something I knew I was good at. And I think you guys can understand that, like as creatives, right?
Yeah.
People who are
Take
artists.
advantage of what is yours.
Yeah.
Like it becomes part of you.
Yeah, and you can own it and like identify with it and feel bold in it and confident in it. So for sure, it really started itself as a way to get girls and then a way to get famous. I really wanted to get famous for a long time. I wanted to be like JB, Justin Timberlake, Usher, you know, all these independent artists that are like producing their music, but they're making money and they're rich and famous and stuff. But God is really kind and he saved me from that lifestyle. And he's brought me here to be a worship leader, a singer-songwriter for the church. And I think there's so much more joy in life in that. So it's really transformed itself that way.
Going back to like, what did you say, 4th grade? When you were growing up and you started getting into music, were you ever looked down on by people for being musical? Because I know like a lot of people, when you're younger, they might not think music is cool, you know? Like, it's all about being an athlete, right? And then I remember I was kind of in this world growing up where, like, I was into sports, but I also played the drums. And so, like, I did band and I did stuff like that. And, like, people would stereotype band kids as, like, the weird kids. Did you ever experience any of that?
No, not really. I was really supportive with my friend groups and more supportive my family. Yeah, I was just really supported. Yeah, it was cool. I wasn't made fun of, I wasn't bullied or anything like that. It was all blessings. So I think that's something I'm grateful for. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Did you end up going to, started in 4th grade, all through high school, music. Did you end up going to college or anything for music?
Nope. I went to Iowa State for mechanical engineering.
Oh, wow.
And then I dropped out a year out into it. Music's always been my passion, and I never really studied it. So, like, everything I know now, it's all self-taught, like the Nashville number system, music theory, like all that little basic stuff. But really, I think most importantly for musicians and singers specifically, there's something about feeling. You have to have the right feel. Like, singing runs and stuff like that and riffs and stuff, it really doesn't come from practicing. It comes from that moment. Like, what's that moment calling for? I'm sure when you guys talked to Isaac, maybe he talked a little bit about it too. It's like sometimes that riff, that run, that little thing that people do, like da-na-na-na, that just happens right there in that moment, and it's never thought out. It's not practiced beforehand. And so for me, like, learning music and not going to school for it, it's always been feeling. And there's pros and cons to it, because for a long time I didn't know what a downbeat was. For a long time I didn't really understand time signatures and stuff like that. But now that I've been, way more experienced in just music in general, working with other people and in church, I know more about that. But for sure, I didn't go to school, and I really wish I did. And I think there's an awesome chance and opportunity for me to take vocal lessons and stuff. So I definitely want to do that, just to be healthier, more aware. For sure, I've been straining my voice, and I feel that and I hear that. So, yeah.
Did you have, like, a mentor growing up?
My mentor, I didn't have a mentor. I had an idol. I had someone I looked up to, and that was very personal to me. And it's my sister, Christine. She led worship for a long time.
Really?
At my Hmong church.
I did not know that. Wow.
And so Christine was an amazing singer and an amazing guitar player. And I really looked up to her for a long time. And there was a moment when we were leading worship together at Cityscape before you guys joined, like really long in the beginning of it. But it was awesome. It was really cool to see that every day in my house, and then to see that on the weekends at the Hmong church. And I mean, now though, I look up to Chris Brown from Elevation Worship. I think he's an amazing leader, an amazing singer. But I think more than anything, there's something pastoral about what he does that I really look up to, and what I'm really trying to be later on, like in the near future at least. So.
Going back to go ahead, sorry.
No, you go first.
Going back to the Cityscape days, just a little background story for our listeners. That's how I met you.
Yeah.
That's how Noah got to know you. So yeah, shout out Cityscape for another connection, because that's how we met Sydney too. That was our last guest on. So pretty clutch.
Yep.
Backtracking a little bit to, I think there's something admirable to being like not going to school for your craft. I think there's like pros and cons to it, because what came to mind when you talking about that was I played keys this Sunday morning for church, and there was actually a conversation that came up about this in the green room, because someone was talking about like sometimes you just can't learn from something that is like tangible, and you only learn from a moment, or you learn from a feeling. And like that kind of goes into like, we were talking about the law of 10,000 hours, where you can't really master your craft. You're not considered a perfection, or you're perfected your craft until you've established 10,000 hours of doing that. And I was like, man, isn't that so true though? Because like you can take music theory for 4 years in college, or you can take music like performance classes for 4 years, but really not grow in it until the moment hits you and it's like, okay, am I going to apply what I've learned? I've been playing keys for almost 18 years, and it's like have I put 10,000 hours in? Maybe. I don't know. Like 18 years is a long time. But like broken down, is it like, am I putting into practice the things I've learned over time? Or are you just waiting on, I don't know, the moment to still come? Or like Isaac said it best, was like, you have to like practice and perfect your craft before the moment comes. Yeah. Because like if you're waiting to just apply that, but you haven't actually put it into practice over and over and over and over again, it's you're not going to be prepared for it. 100%. So I think that's like super cool that like, you know, that you're like, you have limitations with whether it's your voice being strained or it's like, I only have so much music theory knowledge, but like knowing that you're going to take what you have already established, grow it and compound it. And like, it's going to pour into itself, you know, it's just going to invest back into itself with the time that you've spent. Cause I mean, look at yourself already, like what you've done with Hope Worship. We'll get into that more, but like, it's the investment that you've made so far. It's just going to show for itself.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's like, you have to have something to apply to that moment.
Yeah.
And that comes from practicing and rehearsing and doing your own thing in your own time. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks.
Little segue into Hope Worship. Tell us about like how you got to be there.
Yeah. So a little backstory of how I got my dream job. I was leading worship at Cityscape, the church that we were all previously at, you know.
How old were you when you started that?
At Hope?
At Cityscape.
Or at Cityscape? Ooh. I had to be 18 or 19. That's pretty crazy to think about. We were pretty young. I was pretty young. But yeah, so one of the people that was singing and leading worship at Cityscape got a job at Lutheran Church of Hope. And through that, she kind of plugged me in and leading some worship nights with her and stuff like that at student ministry. And Perry and Alyssa, my bosses, basically, Alyssa, my boss, they found who I was going to those worship nights. And then, you know, it's a crazy story because Hope asked me 3 separate times to join their team. I got asked to join student ministry like about 3 years ago. And then I was asked to join Hope Grimes.
Huh, that's funny.
A year before that, actually, so 4 years ago. And then this last time they asked me, which is two years coming up in July, I said yes. And, you know, I think they always said, hey, come and see. Like, come and see, come and see. That was their words. They always used that. And I came and saw what God was doing, and it was really cool. It was really amazing. And so now I've been here almost 2 years in July, and just seeing the depth of what praise and worship can look like and sound like at Hope has been really amazing and humbling. When I first joined, it was amazing already. It was already really good. But I think after being there and, you know, obviously following the Spirit of the Lord and having Isaac as a companion, a brother that has the same vision for praise and worship, specifically at Lutheran Church of Hope, it was so much fun to create an atmosphere at Revive, which is the young adult ministry at Hope. We had so much freedom and free time to be creative and to like do different mashups, do different arrangements, do different styles, like gospel music, you know, Kirk Franklin, Travis Green, Todd Delaney, stuff like that. And so to see that now start to incorporate itself into weekend worship at Hope, and now also Hope Worship itself, like the album and stuff like that, it's been really cool. I had the honor and the privilege to be able to write a gospel song that's going to be produced here probably by next year, I would say. And we had John Merrill on it. John Merrill was singing that, leading that, so shout out to John Merrill. But yeah, Hope Worship it's an awesome, exciting thing right now. And it really drives me of what I'm going to be doing for the next, 5 to 10 years at the very least. But it's an important thing to me, and it's a driving force to me to wake up and to go to work and be grateful and to be intentional with what I'm doing, how I'm writing. Yeah.
Do you remember how the conversation started about like, hey, now's the time, we want to make this a thing and we want to drop an album by the end of the year in 2022, which was last year?
Yeah, it kind of happened full of chaos. Did you guys ask Isaac this question?
I don't think we asked him.
Oh, okay. All right, so I might have to expose Isaac a little bit. But he'll love me. That's my brother. It was, I would say it's organic, but it was kind of chaotic, to be honest with you. The very first worship night, which happened April, I don't know, April 9th.
4/9.
Yeah, 4/9 of 2022.
2022.
Yeah. It was, Isaac kind of like just did it by himself. Like he went through, he's like, hey, what do you think about worship night? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, why not? And he went to Pastor Mike, the senior, the leader of Lutheran Church of Hope. And he was like, yo, we got to do this. Pastor Mike was like, all right, let's do it. And that's how it happened. Like, none of the pieces were in the right order. None of the sequence happened in the right sequence. You know, it was just a vision that God gave to Isaac, and he carried it out faithfully, but kind of like also like behind people's back, low key. But God is good, and he had his way, you know what I'm saying? And it like, it's such a fruitful thing now. And I'm so grateful that Isaac had the courage and the boldness to do that, because if he didn't, we wouldn't see the fruit of what Hope Worship is right now. And so I think more than anything, it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant to be like to write an album. It was just to be, hey, let's have a worship night and like, let's record it and let's see what happens
Yeah.
after that.
Yep.
But now, like a year later, it's kind of, what is God's purpose for this thing, for real? Like, what is his will? Like, what does he really want us to do? And how do we steward it well? And so now we feel like it's part of the vision, part of the plan to write songs for the church. And right now that looks like it's just hope. And honestly, that's more than enough for me. You know, I don't have to write songs for the global church. God's will be done, and I really hope that happens. But I'm really content and joyful just knowing that we're able to put words into people's faith and how they feel right now for God at Hope. So
When did you guys, like, you talked about like God taking that moment 4/9 and like now you see the fruit of it. When was the moment that you saw the fruit of it? Like, was it when like the Gyra cover hit? Like, how many views does it have?
it's got almost 900,000 right now.
Yeah, it's almost a milli.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think it was that moment. It was the moment Laura and I were traveling to Nashville. She had a photography thingy she was going to, and so we drove together. And that same week, that same day, we drove to Colorado. Isaac was like, "Hey, we're dropping Heart of Worship, nothing else, Gyra," and I was like, "Dang, I'm not gonna be there in person." It's like I want to be there, but it was really awesome just to. We watched the live premiere of it on YouTube, and so we watched like the 5-minute countdown. And it was just awesome. It was really awesome to see it, because I think for a long time, dang, I might start crying, bro. I'm kind of soft right now.
Hey, go ahead.
But I've always dreamed of doing something like that and being part of a church like where I'm at right now, and walking out my faith and my calling in this way, and to see it and to hear myself for the first time, like that in that video, it was a crazy, surreal moment. I remember listening to it the first time through, and Laura and I were crying, and we were 40 minutes away from where she was going to start this thing in Colorado, and it was just so crazy. It was really crazy. So I think it was after that moment, for me specifically, where I was like, wow, this is really happening, and God's really faithful, and he's going to do something with it. And I just have to be obedient to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then, 3 days after that, it really blew up. Like, it caught to like 50,000 in less than a week.
Yeah. And Cody Carnes even commented.
Yeah, and Cody Carnes commented
Yeah.
on it too. And it was just awesome, man. It was really cool. It was surreal. It was a really blessed moment, and I'm really honored to be part of that. But yeah.
I feel like all of us, I feel like everyone has that moment that reminds them why you do what you do. And that was your moment.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome, actually. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, and so then I can't remember. So y'all were working on the song "Faithfulness." Was that the first Hope original, or was there was some before that? But this was the first Hope Worship original.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's been some Hope Worship stuff in the past before Isaac and I were part of the team. Faithfulness and Pour Your Spirit Out kind of came out at the same time.
Yeah.
But Faithfulness is one of our first singles that we came out with during this new season of hope, what hope worship is. And actually, my wife and I wrote that, and it was crazy. We wrote it in 40 minutes. I remember it like yesterday. Man, it was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah. And so I remember y'all premiered Faithfulness at Revive, and then Pour Your Spirit Out was at 4-9, right?
Yes, I believe maybe it was before that. I think
Pour Your Spirit Out was it 4-9?
it must have been 4-9.
It was 4-9 because
Yeah.
that was the second one that was the second video that dropped. No, it wasn't. What was the second video that dropped?
I don't know. I really don't remember now.
I don't remember either. Now you got
Faithfulness and Pour Your Spirit. They're like they came out at the
Faithfulness
same
dropped
time.
at a later date.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep. But it was recorded.
But it was
before.
recorded
Yeah.
before. Yep.
Talk us through like the songwriting sessions. Like first, let's start with like Faithfulness. You and Laura wrote it in 40 minutes. I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. And then I don't know if you were in the room with Alyssa and Perry and everyone else for Pour Your Spirit Out, but like tell us about that too.
Yeah. So how Faithfulness came to be was super crazy. So there's this guy that I met at church that night, and he's been suffering with Crohn's disease for a while, and he was just telling me about how God's been faithful in his life. And he said the first verse of the song, piece by piece, day by day, I feel like God's restoring me. And I was like, we were in the middle of a conversation. And I was like, hold up, wait a minute. I pulled out my phone and I started writing it down. I was like, hey, I know this is weird, but I'm getting inspired right now.
A bar right there.
Yeah. I was like, yo, that's really good. And so he just kept talking to me about it. And we talked for like another hour and a half, and I ended up praying for him. And it was just cool to see God's faithful hand in his life and him being able to just speak about it, right? And so I took that and I went to Laura's apartment at the time, and I was like, yo, I think I got a song. Like, I got an idea, and it's about faithfulness, and here's the first verse. And we just started writing, and then next thing you know, I pick up the acoustic guitar, and I just start playing in E flat, and it just started happening organically. I started playing these chords, and then we just kept writing down lyrics. Like, it wasn't even a thought. Like, we didn't even have to like go back and say, hey, is that right? Like, does that sound good? It was just boom, 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 piece by piece, day by day. You're restoring me, wall by wall, breaking down. You're making a way for me. It was just that simple, that fast. And so I think for Faithfulness, it was a surreal, probably never again gonna happen. Like, it was, I can't even explain it. It was just a surreal moment where it just happened organically. And within 40 minutes, the whole song was written out, and we're like, dang, that's it. That's it. So we sent it to Isaac. I sent it to Pastor Jeremy. I also sent it to Pastor Richard to get the lyrics theologically checked and stuff like that. And that was literally a week before 4/7, which what happened at Revive. And so Isaac was like, all right, we got to throw this in the set list last second. Like, this is a song that we got to do. This is a single that we have to produce, like, right now. And so that's what we did. Now Faithfulness is a song, and it's been really awesome. But Pour Your Spirit Out, I know I wasn't part of the writing process, but Alyssa's been writing that song for 2 years. It was like pre-COVID. And so I think she had an idea, and I don't think it was fully fleshed out until we were really like, okay, this night of worship is really going to happen. We should have at least 1 or 2 songs ready of our own. And so I think at that moment, she took the bones of what Pour Your Spirit Out was and put like the color, the flesh on it, everything that makes it sound like a real song. But songwriting sessions right now for Hope Worship, it's a weekly thing. We don't really have that much time outside of Wednesdays, so we try to block off Wednesdays 1 p.m. through 4 p.m. So we have a 3-hour time slot every week where we get together and just work on songs. But outside of that, though, we bring songs that we've already written by ourselves. So Perry will have a song that he's been writing. Alyssa will have a song that she's been writing. I'll have a song that I've been writing. And it's like we have enough bones where it's like we have a melody, we have a chord progression, we have some lyrics. And then we'll bring it together and say, all right, hey, is this idea even good? Because if it's trash, let's throw it out right now. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it happens. When we get together on Wednesday, that's how we vet it first within our Hope Worship leadership. And so if it becomes a real song, then it's like, okay, that's a great idea. How about this? How about that? And Isaac's always involved too. Isaac's always there. Isaac's the music director at Hope. And so he's always playing keys and making the lead lines first. And like, he's a very crucial piece to creating the whole picture of what these songs look like.
Right.
Because he adds all the color, all the vibrancy. You know, so yeah.
Does everything happen at the Grand?
A lot of things do happen at the Grand, but I think most things happen in the Jordan Creek prayer room.
Okay.
But yeah.
Or the small closet?
Yeah. Hey, for me, that's my spot. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So like, how important is it to get like criticism from your team, from your coworkers and people in the room with you? Because like, I think a lot of people, you know, when it comes to, hey, I'm bringing a song I wrote to the table, you deal with a lot of like, you know, you're proud of what you did, right? And it's like, you have to trust other people's feedback, right? Trust that it's going to be like constructive feedback and it's not just going to be like destroying everything about what you did, but like, you know, like talk about like criticism and like, you know, like the helpfulness of it in like that kind of setting, you know?
Yeah, I think before anything, it's like you have to be full of humility. As an artist, you have to be.
Yeah.
Because you need to have tough, like thick skin. Because sometimes people are just haters, sometimes people are just mean, right? But when it comes from your peers, that it's really important to have humility because not everything we make is good. And I think it's important for us to know that so that we can become better.
That's why I appreciate you because like when I show you stuff, you'll tell me straight up if it's trash or not. And actually, I want people who are just straight up in my life.
Yeah.
I don't want people who are just going to...
Don't give me the fluff.
I don't want yes men in my life who are just going to be like encouraging me to do something that's actually not my calling or it's whack, you know? Like I want people like Jacob in my circle who are like being straight up with me. So
Yeah, I think the delivery looks different depending on my relationship, right? With that person.
Absolutely.
So sometimes like you're like my brother.
Yeah. So
you are like my
you
little
can
brother.
Literally like...
But yeah, I'll be blunt with you. I'll be like, bro,
Smack you upside the head.
that looks terrible, bro. Like, don't do that, like ever again. But when it's like, you know what I'm saying? But when it's like a peer, when it's someone from Hope Worship, it's like, I see the idea that you have, but man, like the way you worded it, that's just not it, and it's okay. But yeah, I think learning how to give constructive criticism is important,
and receive it.
but learning how to receive it is honestly more important because it's gonna help you grow your artistry. Yeah. It's gonna help you grow with your creativeness.
Not to contradict you, I think to add on to that, how to receive criticism period is important because not everything is going to be constructive.
Yeah,
dude, I've had someone come up to me having no business giving me feedback on what I am good at, my profession, my craft. I've had people be like, give me unwarranted advice. How you receive that too from like someone who is going to consume your content, whether it's they're going to watch your film, they're going to, consume your photos, or they're going to sing your song. Like someone who may not know the pieces of your craft. I think that's just really important for any creative and really any person, but especially in the creative industry, because our work is based on other people's expectations and if it meets it.
Yeah.
So like, not to contradict you, but like, honestly, like, how we receive criticism, even when it's not constructive, is really important.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, not everything's going to be constructive. So I'm saying like have thick skin.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Like, be okay with people just like coming up and hating on it. But like there's people you trust. There's peers that you trust.
Know who to listen to.
Exactly. And that's who you get your constructive criticism from.
Yep.
But if it's from someone that's like in our car engaged telling me like, hey, I didn't really like that song. I didn't really like this lyric. I didn't really like this melody. Like no lie. I'll take it, not to heart, but I'll think about it and I'll be like, maybe they're right.
Yep.
Like just because they're not creative, just because they're not musical, it doesn't mean that what they're saying isn't true.
Correct.
That's subjective.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be constructive either, but it's you have to be able to wrestle with maybe I should take a deeper look, but also I don't really care.
Yeah. Know what the final authority is. You know, like especially whenever it comes to songs and subjection. You know, like people being like, especially, I mean, I'm also a worship leader. I went to school to be a worship leader. So it's like, you're going to have those people who are like, why are we not singing more hymns? Why are we singing too many hymns? Why are we not singing this? Why are we not singing that? Why are we singing Elevation? Maverick City sucks. Why are we singing whatever? It's like everyone is going to have an opinion knowing what the final authority is. And if your vision is aligning with God's authority, but also like the authority that you are subjected under, whether it's an elder board, whether it's other peers and songwriters, like you have a boss. You have to know like, hey, if I'm going to write this song, it's got to get put through the right avenues before it ever hits the stage.
Yeah, it's always vetted, right?
Correct.
It's always vetted by leadership, elder team, pastors, the Hope Worship leads. So for sure.
How important is that? Like having like Pastor Jeremy, Mike, or like Richard, or just like people like, from a theological standpoint, kind of review your songs,
Yeah, no, it's super important. I think when we're writing songs for the church and it's a worship song, it can't be blasphemy. So it's got to be vetted theologically by like someone who's theologically sound. And for us at Hope specifically, it's Pastor Richard. He's like the most intelligent, high IQ, super theological, super spiritual guy. And so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the word. And so the songs getting vetted by him and through him is really important for us because, man, we want people to be singing songs that speak truth over them, that they can sing truth over themselves and over their neighbor, over their family, even over their enemy. And it's like, it's got to be true. We can't just be saying how we're feeling because God is so much more than what we feel. He's also the truth that he's written himself about.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
So
go off.
I'm just saying, like, we can write worship songs that are all about feelings, and I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm also saying
There's more.
we have to worship in spirit and truth. If you're worshiping just emotions, you're worshiping in spirit.
Yeah.
There has to be truth behind it, so there has to be the word behind it. So that's why.
To go off of what Noah said, how do you go about stylistic differences? So you're talking about like the truth and making sure that everything is vetted from a theological standpoint of writing. What about stylistic differences? Because everyone was influenced by something whenever they're younger, whatever, like whoever you listen to whenever you're younger. For me, it's like Stephen Curtis Chapman and Vince Gill. For someone else, it might be completely different as a writing style. So it's like, how do you bounce ideas from different styles?
That's such a good question because right now, like Hope Worship, we're not really trying to write, like our intention is to be like, we want to have all genres of worship in it, but the way we're writing it isn't like, we're not going about it in that way. We're just kind of like, hey, let's write this song and see what it's supposed to feel like. So when we came to that gospel song that we wrote, it's called My Joy, it actually happened when me and Isaac were rehearsing for a student ministry night. And so I was just like, we had a bunch of free time. We got done with the set list with rehearsal, and there was like 30 minutes of free time. And I was like, yo, Isaac, why don't you just play some fun stuff, and maybe we'll write a song right here, right now. And so he just started playing like these funky gospel chords, man, like with this cool rhythm. And so I was like, okay. He just kept playing it for like 10 minutes. I didn't sing, 10 minutes. And I just started singing, in my joy, in my sorrow, my yesterday, my tomorrow, I will know that you are good. And so it just kind of happened organically. I think we're trying to find a way of how do we be intentional with writing other genres and not like, because you have to be intentional.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional. And I think right now we're trying to find out what that looks like for us at Hope. Like, how does that, like, well, how do we build a strategy? How do we be practical about it? How do we be logistical about writing different genres? But I think right now it's like what you said. It's kind of, you're always piggybacking off your influences, right? And I'm sure that you guys have some creative people, some photographers, some videographers that you guys really love. And you guys are like, man, their art's so dope. And I'm sure you guys take some editing styles or some angles from them, from their creativity and their creative process. So for me personally, when I wrote that gospel song, I was thinking about Travis Green. I was thinking about Todd Delaney and how they would write these chord progressions, because gospel chord progressions look a lot different than contemporary Christian worship. But when it came to like writing faithfulness, for sure, I was thinking about like, honestly, All Sons and Daughters and Elevation. But it's always, the songs right now for us, we're trying to figure out what our voice and what we sound like. But honestly, we're so newbie. We're so new. We're kind of piggybacking off. Yeah, we're piggybacking off like the people that we look up to. And so I
Who
think
is that?
Elevation Worship, Maverick City.
Cool.
You know, I got thrown Hillsong too. They're like the grandparents of worship. Like,
100%.
honestly, like and they really made it fun.
Yeah.
You know, before them, it was just kind of hymns and stuff like that. I'm sure there's other great people too,
It
but
was just kind of CCM, or is that it? CCM Christian music? Like,
yeah, it was.
It's really rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and so you know, Bethel too. I got to throw them in there as well. They're just really inspiring to listen to because the way they write their music. Elevation lately though, wow.
Dude,
Killing
their
it.
new
Wow.
song that came out on Friday.
Trust in God.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
It's a good one. And
yep.
Elevation Rhythm.
Yeah, dude, we.
This is the gospel hits,
Woo!
dude.
Yes, it's like tribal.
Hits, dude.
We saw them live. Laura, me, and Isaac. We saw them live in Minneapolis. That was an awesome experience. Just to be able to worship God in a different house, and to engage in
Not even
in their songs.
his house, but it's like it doesn't matter. Where,
Yeah.
you know, you're like it's that corporate, you know,
Yeah.
coming together.
No, it was so beautiful. It was really cool to see the whole arena. Like you could see their faith.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's hard to see people's faith, and that is people expressing their worst praise and worship. That people can be standing like this, and they can be super theological and have a really amazing relationship with the Lord. That's not. I'm not trying to say that, but it's really powerful to see people express their faith, man.
I think
Like-
the word that comes to my mind is just like freedom. Like,
Yeah,
you are so free that you can move and dance in whatever way God is leading you
Yep,
to.
yep.
And like you're not embarrassed or ashamed of it.
yeah, and it's contagious.
it is.
Like you know, like a laugh's contagious, but man, when you see someone praise the Lord authentically and they're like screaming and you know jumping for joy with all that they have, it's like, man, why? I got to do that too.
Isn't
Why-
that
why not?
what I mean? The psalmist David talks
Yeah.
about praising the Lord undignified. Like, isn't that what is about?
And I
Yeah.
feel like they do a good job of helping bring that freedom out
100%.
and make people comfortable to bring that freedom out. Because I felt that same way when I first walked in the cityscape. It was that kind of freedom to be able to, you know, worship without having
barriers.
barriers.
walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an
100%.
anointing that Elevation Worship definitely has right now. And to go back to the point you were trying to ask, like, how do you write different genres of music? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know who I can refer to, and that's Elevation Worship.
Cool.
They write amazing worship songs that are all genres. I'm talking like they got some R&B songs like Never Lost, and they got some gospel songs like More Than Able, Jireh. They have some rock and roll songs, some country songs like Rattle, Water is Wild. You know, they hit everything. And yeah, it's awesome.
Honestly, okay, I don't know. This might be a stretch, but it's like when it comes to worship music, like, do you need to always be in the same specific niche? Because like every tribe, tongue, and nation, you know, is gonna be represented in the kingdom of heaven. So it's like any style of music, you know, that's honestly inspired by different tribe, tongue, nations, and cultures. You know, like I don't know where I'm trying to go with that, but you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. I think I would agree with you. It shouldn't matter. But I do think what Paul wrote was also very important, was that we need to be all things to all people. So I think it's important for us to like, hey, we got to be inclusive in how we write songs because different kind of cultures and people have different types of songs and genres that they really love to mess with, you know?
While also not comparing ourselves, like the eye is not going to say to the foot, you know, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
It's like every part of the body of Christ is needed, and like whatever value you're providing in an authentic space to bring in corporate worship is necessary.
100%. Yeah. Dude, I had this really profound thought one day when I was leaving my job, leaving church one day. And Elevation Worship was playing. And for some reason, I got jealous. Like really jealous. And I was like, man, how come Hope Worship isn't there yet? And I was like questioning myself. I was questioning God. And so the Holy Spirit just hit me with, why can't you just be happy? Like you can't just cheer them on from afar. You can't worship me in their music because you're jealous of that I've blessed them in this way. and that I haven't blessed you in this way, supposedly. And it just really hit me that, like, I feel like creatives sometimes, we get caught up in, like, not being good enough or just being jealous, and we lose sight of just cheering on our friends or our brothers and sisters who are also creative, because we're not in the limelight like they are. We're not as cool or as big or as important as they are. But it's like, lately for me, I've been learning to have a humble spirit, just be like, dude, they're awesome, they're killing it, and I'm really happy for them. I'm praying for them, you know? And so, like, even just podcasts, I'm like, yo, it's cool, and I'm really happy you guys are doing it. I really am. And yeah, it's just cool. It's cool to be humble enough to be excited for people.
Yeah.
And not let your jealousy get in the
100%.
way.
Yeah. I think you said, like, just being happy, right? I feel like I was having a conversation with somebody about this. Like, happiness is like a momentary feeling, but joy is like a forever feeling. Like, you choose joy. And, like, I've had to choose joy. Like, I have to have this reminder from you a lot, because I'm the same way, where it's like, I want to be somewhere, you know, but, like, I'm still, like, young, and I haven't put in my time yet to get to that destination I want to be in. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. I think choosing joy is important every single day.
100%.
Choosing humility, choosing peace. Those are the fruits of the Spirit, though, right? So
Yeah.
It's true.
If you can tell your younger self, looking at where you're at now, looking at that your goal shifted because of God, like your goal was to be rich and famous.
yeah.
What would you tell, I guess, high school Jacob right now? What advice?
It's a good, big question. I think more than anything, I would tell myself to be happy with who you are. I think myself personally, I always struggled with just being who I am. And that means, like, my whole identity, like, that I'm a Hmong, that I'm an Asian Hmong guy specifically. That identity part, it's like, I've never been proud I was Hmong. And I don't know why, but I would definitely just tell myself, like, hey, be proud that you're Hmong and that the family you're born into is amazing, and that you're going to meet the right person one day, and that, hey, this God-given dream and gift that you've been given, it's not for yourself, right? And just be faithful to it. That's what I tell myself. Because low-key, I was kind of a sad, depressed kind of bully in high school, you know? And it definitely, yeah, I don't know. That's such a big, crazy, good question. Just be proud of who you are, I'd say.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm bouncing backwards a little bit. At the Elevation concert, something really cool happened, and you kind of, like, shared about it, or someone shared about it on Facebook. But, like, someone recognized you at the concert. And, I mean, like we talked about, like, you do Hope Worship. You're one of the singers and songwriters in that group. How did that moment make you feel? And, like, did that encourage you? Like, what was that feeling like? You're in a whole different city.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're just one of the people, you know, just in the crowd. Yet, like, somebody found you and saw you and knew you, you know, from Hope Worship. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so, all right, let me paint the picture first. So we're watching Elevation Worship because their main keys player, Scott, hooked us up with some free tickets. God bless that guy. Shout out to that guy. And so we're walking, and there's thousands of people on our left side. We're walking through the arena. We're going to the will call to pick up our tickets, right? And it's downstairs. There's thousands of people in front of us. And first of all, we're just there to go worship God and go see what's happening at the Elevation Worship Church. And so I feel this tap on my shoulder. And the very first thing I think of is, oh, I'm gonna have to fight somebody today, huh? So I squared up my fist like this. I was like, all right, I gotta turn around. I turn around, and it's an Asian dude. And right when I looked in his eyes, I knew exactly what kind of Asian he was. He was a Hmong guy. I knew it. Right when I looked at him, I said, ooh, you Hmong, huh? And he goes, hey, are you Jacob Her? And I go, yeah. I'm like, oh no, this is even more trouble than I thought I was in. And he goes, dude, I just found you like 2 weeks ago, and I'm in love with the song that you wrote, In Your Presence. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I don't think I said anything. I was like, dude, that's awesome. I literally just said that. And he goes, yeah, he's like, I'm so happy that I found you. He's like, I've been trying to find or write a song about being in the presence of God, and I found you. And it's even better that you're a Hmong guy. And just remember what I said earlier. Like, I always struggled with my Hmong identity. Yeah. And so he's like, can I give you a hug? And I was like, hey, at first my thoughts were, no, I don't know you like that. But seriously, I was like, what? And I was like, something in my heart was like, yeah, sure. And so he gave me a hug, and he burst into tears, like bawling, crying his eyes out. But it was like joyful, it was peaceful tears, like you could tell. And we hugged for like 3 seconds long, and then we let go of each other, and he was just looking at me in my eyes, smiling with me. He's like, can I get a picture with you? Can I get a picture with you? And so my wife was there. She took a picture of us, and we got a picture of all of us together, me, Isaac, Laura, and his name is Lee. And he was just like, just so happy to be able to see me and to meet us. Yeah. And it was so humbling and so encouraging. And it didn't really hit me how much it means to me until we started driving home from watching Elevation Worship. Because in that moment, I was like, oh, that's really awesome. I got recognized. It's cool. Like, dang, God is really good. He's really faithful. Like, our songs are really reaching what we want. It's reaching the world. It's reaching this country. It's reaching this nation. And so that's how I first felt about it. And then after Elevation Worship, we went home the next day. And as I was driving home, I was just talking out loud with Laura about it. And I started crying a little bit because of like, how kind is God? The very first person to reach out to me is a Hmong guy. That's who I am. That's a part of me. And like, if you guys don't know this, Hmong people don't have a native country. We don't have a flag. We have nothing to take pride of our own land other than our culture.
You think that's why you struggle with like your identity a
I
little bit?
think there's a lot of reasons. I think there's just not very much Hmong representation in any like big like first world country. Like honestly, and it's because there's not very many of us. There's millions of us in the southeast parts of Asia, like Laos and Vietnam and Thailand, but they all got killed off in the Vietnam War. And let me tell you a little history about that. Let me go on a little rant a little bit. So Hmong people don't have a home country or country or origin of country, whatever, because originally we lived in China, and they got exiled by the Chinese emperor and killed off because there were Hmong people that had fair skin and green and blue eyes, which is really, really interesting to think about. So now if you look at Hmong people now, most of us look like Chinese people, right? Like that, like honestly. And so they got excommunicated and exiled to the hills and the mountains of Southeast Asia, which is Laos and Vietnam and Thailand. But during the Vietnam War, the American government hired them as militia to fight against the Vietnam communists because no one knew the jungle as well as Hmong people did and as Vietnamese people did. And that's why the war was really hard for the United States government, because they couldn't fight in the jungle. And that's also why they withdrew. But when they withdrew, they promised all the Hmong people free citizenship if they can make it to America. But they had to make it to America on their own. And so during that time period, the decade after the Vietnam War, after the United States pulled out, millions of Hmong people were killed. Millions. Killed like animals, shot in the street. And luckily enough, by God's grace, my parents made it to the United States. They met each other, and now I'm here. But again, to go back to what it's like being a Hmong person and not being able to identify with it, it's because, like, man, the Hmong population in Iowa is small. There's like probably 200, 300 of us here in the state of Iowa. And I don't really see them that often. I don't really get to engage in culture that often, of my Hmong culture outside of my family, right? And so when we went to Minnesota, it's just it was a blessing in disguise because there's literally like 1 million Hmong people there, 1 million Hmong people in just Minneapolis and like St. Paul in that area, and it's like they have like Hmong high schools there where people learn how to speak Hmong there, and it's crazy. And so the culture is a little bit different there for Hmong people, and so going to Minneapolis and being encouraged and inspired, and just hearing the voice of God through another Hmong brother was so crazy. It was so humbling. And it was just like, a piece of me was like, I have to remember who I am too. Because I don't speak Hmong. I understand it all, but I don't speak it. And so I think for the past few years, I've always felt like a yearning and a passion to learn Hmong. But now after that moment, it's like, I really need to engage in my culture, my tradition, my heritage, because that's who God made me to be too. And so, yeah, going back to that story, it was more than encouraging. It was really kind to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think like that was literally like a God thing?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. There's thousands of people, and the song that he recognized me from, I look totally different.
Yeah.
I have like a homeless long hairstyle going on right now. You know, I'm trying to, it's in like the season of like where it's ugly and it's not like it's best looking. But when the video that he's referencing, the song that he's referencing that he knows me from, I had like a short haircut, you know, and he picked me out of thousands of people in the arena, you know? And so it was really, really crazy for sure.
Okay, so after going and seeing like a group that you guys like are inspired by, have you taken anything away that you're hoping to bring to like Revive? You're hoping to bring to Hope Worship? Because I know at Revive, that's where a lot of the experimentation happens.
Yeah, I think it was kind of hard to like write down ideas of what we should do because I was just so caught up in the moment of worshiping God with them there. But there are some takeaways. There are transitions between songs. They're lighting transition between songs and how those two things coincide and was really smooth. So like between every song, they would cut to black, boom, for like a second. And then they would bring the lights all the way back up with a different look. And that's how they did their transition for lighting. But it made sense because that 1 to 2 seconds was enough time for Chris Brown to change his guitar or for someone to bring a guitar to Chris, right? And like that was just an idea that like, it's so simple, but it's refreshing, and it was like new to see. It was good to see.
It's cool to see someone else like of that scale not do anything that's like, I mean that it's innovative in a sense, but it's not like, whoa,
It's not
how
crazy.
did they do that? Like
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
yep.
yeah,
It's doable.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's easy to replicate. Another thing I took too was Pastor Stephen Furtick, man. He can really preach. It was crazy. It was crazy how you first engaged the room. The very first thing he said was, hey, I want everyone to do a 360, but do it slow. And he's like, take a look at that and remember that those are all miracles around you. Look at the faith around you. That's what he said. And it was amazing. I was like, yo, like, true.
yeah,
You know?
profound.
And I was like, this is crazy. It's like a little practical thing, but it was just so powerful to be able to like spin around, see my wife on my left-hand side, like that, us being together, being married, it's such a miracle, it's such a blessing. Then seeing like somebody right behind me who's worshiping, and I'm hearing them scream behind me. It's not the best sounding thing, but it was awesome. But they had like the thing in their nose and they couldn't breathe on their own. They had like a machine helping them breathe. And I didn't even know that until I turned around. And then, you know, turning back around, I get 270 and Isaac's on my right. And I'm like, that's the homie, that's the brother right there, you know? And so that was a really cool takeaway too. I think for the worship style stuff is like, their team is just so connected. They're just so tight. Like they know each other so well. And so it's like, they don't have to think when they play together. Like if they're gonna be cohesive and like doing a cool hits, bam, 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 or like a cool riff together, they're gonna do it because they've been playing together for years. And I'm like, Isaac and I always talk about like, how do we get that whole worship? And the answer is time. The answer is time. We have to play and lead and serve with one another more. And the more we do, the better we'll get together, you know? So I think those are like the main takeaways I got. Other than that, it was just an awesome experience.
Would you ever consider, if you got invited to sing for Elevation for like a night or Maverick City or like any worship group out there, like you name it, like would you take the opportunity? I mean, that's probably a dumb question.
For once, like just one time, or like going there for my job?
Well, so think of it this way. So like Chandler Moore, part of Maverick City, but also has his own music. Would you ever consider that avenue of like, you're part of this worship team in this group, but you also have your own music. You also have your own brand.
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly, no. I feel like I would never pursue anything on my own, just because I feel like that's a conviction that God has given me, that I don't need to do anything on my own for my own name. I think I'll always be involved in a church or a ministry like Maverick City, like that kind of culture and that kind of lane. But honestly, I feel like I would never leave Hope, and I feel like God's will be done and God bless it. But I feel like I'll be at Hope and doing Hope worship stuff for the rest of my life. And I feel like I would never pursue anything, even if it's God music, even if it's worship music, but under my own name. I feel like I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No.
So you would be a guest appearance.
Yeah, 100%. Hey.
But no, like, you know,
Give the boy a
self-titled
call.
albums,
Yeah.
no, like,
Nope.
okay.
No independent artistry for myself, for sure.
Got you.
I always want to be part of a collective or
Yeah.
anything like that, because I think it's a slippery slope. I think when you start doing things on your own, because you start listening to your own voice more than God's, and I think there's
Also, where's the accountability come from?
there's a very practical way to hear God's voice. For people out there who might be struggling with, like, how do I hear God's voice? Is it really like a tangible thing? Sometimes, yeah, but more often than not, it's people of faith that are telling you words that are speaking to you. Yeah. Sometimes that's God's voice, and I never want to lose that.
Yeah.
And I always want to be. I never want to be first.
Yeah. Have you been approached by anyone recently? I know you are singing at Oasis this Friday. Explain that. Like, what's Oasis?
Yeah, so there's a Spanish worship band that's called Oasis Ministry, and they're from the DR, the Dominican Republic, and they got like a 300,000 following. They're like huge in the Hispanic Christian world, and so they're coming up and they're headlining a worship night at Lutheran Church of Hope on Friday, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And they asked, some people from Hope to open up for them. And hey, I know I'm Asian, but I'm a Chino, right? I can sing Spanish a little bit. And so luckily, I'm honored to be able to lead one song. But
That's cool.
most of the singers, it's like Eliane and her mom and another guy named Carlos, who's really amazing. And so, wait, what was the question again? Sorry.
Like, what are some groups that you get to be a part of outside of Hope Worship,
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could say Oasis Ministry, LCC. Not really Oasis Ministry, but LCC, which is like the Hispanic church that meets at Hope every Sunday morning. I mean, since coming to Hope, I've been asked by one church for sure if I was interested in being a worship leader there. And it's a church in Chicago. But
I know, so Isaac just played with Barack.
Yeah, Barack, yeah.
And I feel like there was a conversation about you maybe getting an opportunity to sing alongside them at some point. Is that
I don't know.
something that's in the pipeline, or is that like just kind of talk?
It might just be a big dream right now, honestly. It'd be really cool. But I know there's some cool stuff that Isaac's talking about that I got to keep on the down low. Not trying to be secretive, not trying to be a gatekeeper, but just trying to be.
Hey, we respect that.
Yeah. But yeah, they're really amazing. They're a really amazing Hispanic worship team too. Probably one of the biggest out there. To put it in a framework, they're like the Maverick City of Hispanic worship right now.
Yeah.
And so Isaac was playing keys with them up there, but the main drummer, he was asking for me. You know, I was like, sorry, man, I couldn't come. I was hanging out with some friends, you know, hanging out with my brother right here. But
Honestly, I kind of wish you went, but
no, it's cool. I think it's a great opportunity for Isaac. And one thing that's cool about Isaac, and he's really blessed to be a bridge. He's like an amazing bridge between people, relationships, ministries, what can be done and like the vision of what can be done, and then make it go to that. So, yeah.
Where do you see yourself 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years from now? I know at Lutheran Church of Hope, because you already said that, but do you have any goals or
2 years with a 1-year-old?
Yeah. In 2 years, I don't know. God's will be done. Maybe, maybe if Lord wants to have a second child on the way, maybe. Jacob. I don't know. 5 years for sure. I definitely would love to have 2 kids, maybe a third on the way, but that's up to my baby Laura. I don't know. Pregnancy's tough out here, man. But for sure, I think in 5 to 10 years, for sure, I want to be out of the position that I'm at right now. So technically, I'm called the Revive Worship Coordinator, and it basically means I'm the young adult worship coordinator, and it's called Revive. And so what I really oversee on a week-to-week basis is that happening every Thursday night, and I would like to transition myself from that to being, creative minister. Shout out to the creatives out there. But because that would it would kind of oversee everything worship. Now I'm not trying to be like Alyssa is a head of West Des Moines worship team. My vision for my job, my position 5 to 10 years from now for sure is like being a worship mentor for every single person that is under worship through Hope, not just West Des Moines, but all of our campuses combined. And that's kind of crazy because I'll only be like 32, but I've been doing this since I've been 18, so that'd be 14 years by that time. And 10 years, oh my gosh, for sure I gotta have a fishing boat. In Jesus' name, Laura, let me get a fishing boat, a nice one. 2 years from now, hold on, let me go back to 2 years. A brand new car. I need a new car. I'm talking about a Subi.
You need a truck for that boat.
I do want a truck, but it takes, it's not efficient. It's not economical, whatever.
The Colorado.
Can you kind of talk on the next generation and how you just said you want to be in a position in 5 to 10 years where you are now mentoring people to take your place, and I want you to speak on the importance of that and what it is to build up young people who have gifts, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of people kind of get it twisted where it's it has to be all, you have to be old, you have to be wise, which yes, wisdom and experience and age is really important to have, but also there is something to be said about people who are anointed and gifted and have a calling, and how do you build them up? Yeah. In a healthy way. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I think it might be it's going to be a little long. Hope you guys.
Yeah,
that cool?
Go for it.
I think it's do we all have mentors? I know you have a mentor, right? Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. That's really a blessing. I don't have a mentor. Do you have a mentor?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Ethan, do you have one for sure? That's really awesome. So 50% of us have a mentor.
Yep.
And so 50% of us don't. And so it's as young creatives, we are in our prime right now to carry, not carry the vision, but carry how the vision is acted on. Because I do believe that the leadership team, the elder team, your mentors, that generation right now, in the 30s, their early 40s, they should be carrying the vision. But it's us who is the bridge of seeing that vision come to life. Because we understand the season and the generation of what is here, and we understand it more than they do in a creative perspective. That's what I really believe. And so right now we're living in this prime age of walking that out. But I do think, it's so important for us to even start discipling and mentoring and teaching and just pouring into other creatives who are younger than us, because Man, I think about it in my own perspective. Like if I had a worship mentor right now that could teach me some lessons that I didn't have to learn for myself, how great would that be? Or if I had someone just to bounce ideas off who I trust is better than me. If I could do songwriting sessions with a mentor like Chris Brown, I mean, I would probably write a really good song way better, way faster, more efficiently with him, right? But I think more than anything, when it comes to ministry, when it comes to church, and when it comes to how I live my life and my lifestyle, it's important for me to disciple because it's a form of evangelism for me. Not only in their creative gift, but planting a seed of faith in their life. But yeah, I think it's the most important thing because to disciple, to mentor is helping lead the change of what's going to happen because inevitably we're all going to grow up. And that means the people that are mentoring us, the people that are above us right now are going to grow old. And that means we're going to have to carry the vision, but then we're going to have another generation that is the hands and feet that have the gifts and the talents and the favor and the anointing to be able to create that vision. And so without that, I mean, things die. The church will die. The universal church, Big C, will die. I think without that, even, I'm not saying creatives will die, but I'm saying like we're only as creative as we are because we're standing on the shoulders of creatives that were before us.
That's true.
Whether they were our mentors or not. And so it's like, in some sort of way, we're all mentored, whether I guess we are poured into on a personal level. But yeah, that's what I'd say.
That's good.
This was good.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more we could unpack, but we're going super long.
I think we could get real nitpicky, especially like, I mean, I know you and I have talked a little bit about songwriting before, like processes, and honestly, I think that's a little bit more like informational that like, and a lot of it is subjective too, you know, like creative process is like how you come up with what you're writing. I mean, there's a billion different ways. Like, so
There's so many ways to get inspired, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I will say I did have one question like a while ago, but we kind of got off track, so I didn't really ask it. But how important would you say it is to know what circle to write in? As a songwriter myself, like there are bigger circles corporately where it's like you'll do a songwriting session, and there are others where it's like, okay, we're kind of niching this down to like who's actually going to collaborate on the project and then who's actually going to bring it to fruition. How important do you see like knowing what stage of the process to have a song in a writing stage, whether it's like, oh, someone came with an idea or like that creative process?
Yeah, so right now at Hope Worship, we're trying to be more transparent with how we're going to do songwriting because I think we just want to be an open door and say, hey, if any of our worship leaders at other campuses have song ideas, it's an open door. Like we want to hear them. Like we need help writing. And so that's how we would do it, like when it comes to having song ideas kind of float in and out. But I think when it comes to vetting and stuff like that, it's important to find out who that core group of people is, who the heads are of that songwriting process. Because again, it's very niche when I talk about it, but when it comes to ministry, when it comes to songwriting for churches, I think specifically from what I have experienced is that God gives certain passion to certain people, and those passions are to steward us in the right way for the right vision for the right time for what God is calling us to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So there are some people that care really deeply about Hope Worship, and they're the heads because God has given them that heart for it. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I would have to say to that.
I think there's a balance there too. Like what you said, like some people like care so deeply, and so they're either rewarded or put in a position. I think there's a balance too of knowing that if you're not stewarding that passion well, I heard this from Pastor Rob Ketterling on their podcast, Talking Church. He's like, I've had so many people come at me saying like, I really want to do this. I want to start this ministry, or I want to do this, or I want to be on this team. It's like, you're super passionate about this, but you know, you haven't stewarded this passion. How can I help you steward your passion? How can I help redirect your passion? And he gave the example of Paul, like basically being so strong-willed as the strong-willed apostle, like to Jesus as, you know, one of his inner circle disciples. But he's like, let me help redirect your passion. Let me help like steward it and actually have it, because I've been in songwriting sessions or creative sessions where someone's like, oh, I have this idea or whatever. Like, I want to do this and this and this. And it's like, okay, great. Like, where's this coming from? But also like, is this something you're passionate about, or is this just something that you want to see the fruit from?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I can add to that now. Yeah, passion is a dangerous thing. It can be really good. It can be really bad. But I think passion sometimes can be God's heart that he's given you for it. But if you idolize that passion too much, it'll become an idol outside of God. So
100%.
you always have to have a discerning voice. And when it comes to collective, it's easier to have a discerning voice because other people are also listening from God and can be like, we know you're passionate about that, but that's just something you're passionate about. It's not something that God's passionate for us right now. So,
Yeah, especially like to add to that as well as like I don't know, like some people are passionate about the product and not the process. You know, I've seen so many people, or like their YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, anything, whatever, people having this passion to become the next YouTube or social media personality, but they don't see the process behind it. They just see the numbers. They see the analytics. So the same with songwriting, be like, oh, I want to sing the song on stage. Great. How are you stewarding and actually like helping your creative journey? Like, are you writing by yourself? I just had a conversation with a friend of mine's about like writing, because so many people will be like, oh, I want to be in the songwriting sessions at church. I want to be in the songwriting sessions on the worship team. It's like, great. Like, are you writing on yourself? Because as we said on so many of our episodes, like if you're not practicing what you plan to do, then that moment's not going to come.
Yeah.
Like if you just think you're going to, pull up to a songwriting session with, and write the next banger, but you haven't put in the work of actually exercising that muscle on your own, listening for inspiration, listening for, God's spirit to ultimately like come out, because you're really wanting just your heart to be a mirror, a reflection of what actually God's put into you.
yeah.
Because if you're only doing it for selfish gain or the product and not the process of like, how is God going to grow me through this?
Yeah.
How's God going to speak to me through this song? So you wrote Faithfulness, which is probably one of your guys' biggest songs, like of your originals yet, most influential, by someone else's story, because you were tenderhearted to what God was telling you in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also it started from someone else's story for sure. But like, man, I was thinking about God's faithfulness in my life in that moment. I was unemployed. I was really on a lowly spot before I met Laura and before I was at Hope. But, God's faithful hand was in there too. So it was really easy to write a song about faithfulness, to be inspired by that way. But yeah, I agree with you 110%. Yeah. It's always, you have to steward your talent, and that means practicing.
Yep.
Yeah, you might be like, some people are really gifted in things, but a gift can only get you so far. You have to be consistent. And you have to be practical, and 100%. You have to
put in the work.
And I think have a greater perspective on what passion is. So like, even if people have a passion for the process of writing a song and not necessarily the end goal of writing that song, to me, those are two in the same, because I feel like when it comes to writing songs, worship songs, at least for me, I put all my passion towards who God is. And so the process is fun. The end game is fun. What the song comes to be is fun. And it's enjoyable for me the entire time, because I don't put my passion in the process or in what the end of it will be, but in what I'm writing about. So
it's good.
I forgot all about the song In Your Presence, bro. You just mentioned that, but
yeah, low-key, me too.
Man, I wanna talk about In Your Presence too, because like you just were talking about Lee, how he's like, that song like touched my heart or whatever, right? Like that song impacted me. I want to hear about that song because like I feel like I heard a little bit about that. Were you like give me the setting, give me like how that song came to be.
Yep. So Marquis kind of spoke about it earlier. There's this little closet behind the green room in the worship office, and I always go in there to practice every single time when I'm practicing for anything. When I'm practicing for Revive, weekend worship, or funerals, a wedding, or anything that comes to practicing music, I always practice in there because it's like away from people, and I can be by myself. And so I was just sitting in there one day, and I literally just the simplest prayer. I said, God, come and do what only you can do. I want to write a song for you, but I just don't know where to start. So you can tell me. And in your presence, those 3 words just kept coming in my mind. And so I was like, in your presence, what's that mean? What's that look like? What does it sound like? And so I started finding Bible verses like, what can we find in the presence of the Lord? We find strength, we find peace, and we find mercy, we find kindness. And so I just started writing those things out and like trying to put them together in a way that's eloquent and that's articulate, that rolls off the tongue really well. Like poetry, songwriting, stuff like that. But that's really how it came to be. And I just drew a lot of my inspiration about who God is. And I got it from my experience of who I know God is, but also how God is written in the Bible. So, yeah.
Did you present it to the team? And
Yep.
then
So
did it get shot down at first? Did it get like finalized? Like,
Yeah.
What did that look like?
No, God's been really graceful with me when it comes to the songwriting process. So when I got done writing In Your Presence, I had all the chords, all the lyrics, the arrangement set out. I had it like fully fleshed out. And I was like, this is how the song's gonna go. What do you guys think? And I brought it to the writing workshop. And this is when the writing workshop was bigger than just me, Perry, Alyssa, and Isaac. It was us 4 plus Matt Langbecker and Jacob Everett and Zoe, who's part of the worship team still right now. And everyone was like, yep, that's a song. Let's do it. And it was nothing else. It was just that. And so, praise God for that. It was awesome.
When it's the one, it's the one.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was like nothing to change. Like lyrically, melodically, chords, the arrangement of it. It just, I was talking to Holden last week, and he was talking about how songs should go, and he was talking about flow is really important. Like flow. Like sometimes they're just lyrical flow. Sometimes they're just melodic flow. Sometimes they're just chords flow. Sometimes the song is just, it just feels so seamless and so clean and so good. There's just some songs that's like, ooh, I wish that chorus wasn't there. Or like, oh, that tag really didn't need to be there. It just didn't feel like that. And so that's awesome. Yep.
And then, so In Your Presence came out as a single in the fall last year, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then it was Faithfulness, the EP, or what do you technically call it, an album now?
Yeah, I was like, it's an album because an EP is way shorter than what we produced.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, Faithfulness was recorded 11/19.
Yep, November 19th.
And Marquis was part of that.
Ethan, were you there too? That's awesome.
Yeah, Ethan and Marquis were both on cameras and stuff for that. So that's kind of cool, that connection there.
Yeah.
That was my favorite song from y'all set for sure.
That's awesome.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's no accident that we're meeting here, man. It's cool that we're all creatives, but like, it's even better that we all get to do it together sometimes.
Yeah.
And like, you guys were recording it, I was singing in it, but you created the thumbnail and like the album cover and stuff like that. So I think like, it's cool to have friends and to have brothers that are creative and that we can do it together. There's nothing that beats that.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys have Faithfulness that is out. It's been out for a minute now, so if you haven't heard it, where have you been?
Yep.
But
Facts.
I know you probably can't give away too much, but what is on the horizon?
For me or Hope Worship or
Both.
both? Again, I said it earlier, but Laura and I are expecting, and we don't know what we're gonna have until the baby's here.
That's
And
crazy.
so,
I love it.
I'm
I love
really, really the most energized and excited about that.
Oh, I have an idea.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go around and choose boy or girl right now.
Ooh.
It's a girl.
What?
I'm going a little boy.
I gotta
Little
go
Jacob.
girl. I see Jacob being a girl dad, man.
Girl.
Shout out to all the girl dads out there.
You think it's gonna be a son, right?
I do think it's gonna be a boy. I don't have a preference. My wife definitely wants a little girl for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to the little ladies out there. But yeah, I don't really mind whatever it is, but I definitely feel like it's a boy.
Hey, we'll see in how many months?
4 months.
What I've heard is whatever you want it to be, you got to start calling it by like that pronoun right away, and God's just gonna be like, all right, I've heard it
Yeah.
enough times. Like,
True.
it's a he.
Okay, so baby on the horizon.
Yeah. That's something I'm most energized and like looking forward to in my personal life. And then for Hope Worship, it's more songwriting, more songs, and
Yeah.
what do worship nights really look like? That's something I've been kind of like thinking about too.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
sir.
No albums that we know of yet. No.
Can't speak about that.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Dope. Well, I think this is
This was a good episode.
Yeah.
Let's wrap
Yeah.
up.
Appreciate you for coming on, bro.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. We end every episode with like what has inspired you, like lately, whether it was today or the past week or whatever. So I don't know who wants to go first, but
I'll go first because I saved this one specifically for today because knew we were having you on. I got approached by a group of people, I'm not going to say who, but to help compose a song for them. They had a lot of the structure set up, and I got to help them just kind of establish what they want out of it. And with my theory background, with just my songwriting background, myself, and then two other. It's a collaboration, so they have a lot of the structure set up, but like me and two other people that I know, we're gonna start working on composing it. We have it. This is a new thing for me. We have a deadline by when we need to have it composed and ready to go by. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But like, I was really inspired, very humbled that I was asked to be a part of it, honestly, because I've been in the room for like a lot of different songwriting and producing and just different things. And every time I just feel like that just kind of imposter syndrome feeling, be like, man, you could have had anybody else here. Like, why am I here? And every time I just kind of feel humbled, but also like remind myself that like there's a purpose and whatever I can bring to the table to help finish a project, to bring whatever it is to completion. So super humbled, but also excited to get to work on it. So
That's dope.
yeah.
okay. Well, since we talked a lot about Elevation today too, I'll say Elevation Film and like the whole team over there and just like the whole creative team, like there's something that has always just drawn me to them and what they do, like not just from a music standpoint, but just like from a creative standpoint. Like they're always setting the bar higher for just like Christian artistry, and just like worship and all that stuff. Whether it's their short films or like cover art for albums or merch.
They
like,
put out some dope stuff on worship department this week.
Yeah. Like specifically one guy that I specifically want to like mention is Mate Hudson. That guy, like he's like a film director for Elevation, but also he has his own, I think, I don't know if you call it business or studio or whatever, but called Foundations. And they work with a lot of the artists that are part of Elevation, but are also independent artists like Brandon Lake and people like that. And so they'll shoot a lot of, they'll help with the rollout for their albums. They'll shoot their cover art. They'll do their videos, amongst other things. Like, it's just crazy. And like, yeah, Mate Hudson, super dope guy. Like, I've never met him personally, but like from afar, like I love the work he does, specifically. And just, yeah, Elevation, man, they're just always setting the bar higher. And I'm always trying to catch up and try to get on that level. And I don't know, it'd be cool to work with people or just be in the same room as creative minds that think like that.
Facts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down the line. Sure. All right. Yeah, I've been really inspired day to day lately by expecting to be a dad. And when it comes to my creativity and my artistry, especially when I write worship songs about how much God the Father loves us, I'm starting to understand that more and more because my heart's really been softened knowing that I want to be a dad soon. Not saying I used to be a really mean, cruel guy.
Yeah.
But like, man, like I'm way more empathetic. Like things break my heart a lot easier than they used to. And so now coming from that perspective, I can write about how much God loves me because he loves me way more than I'll ever love my baby. And to me, that's a profound thought because I love my baby more than anything else right now, and they're not even born yet. And so I've been really inspired to write songs about God's love for us. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Me, I'm inspired. So my mentor, he got a chance to film house fires. I thank God. It finally, I saw it, like he posted on Instagram like the whole like lead up to it, during it. So the video finally dropped on it. It's pretty dope. So that really inspired me because I'm like, dang, want to be there someday. So
Remind me your mentor's name again?
Tony Pettiford. So
Yo, we got to get Tony on here.
yeah,
sure.
he's actually the whole video production wise for Maverick City, and all that. So he does.
Let's
like
make a call. Let's get Tony on here.
Travis Greeny, Brandon Lake.
Yep.
The stuff they did in the church with all them, he shot all that. So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
That's dope.
That is dope.
Yep.
It's no accident you're his mentee.
Yeah, he is actually he's pretty much taught me everything I know about video. I call him and he answers with any questions when it comes to how to build clients, what gear I should be getting, how should I shoot this and stuff like that. So pretty cool relationship.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks for being on, dude.
Yeah.
Love
it.
Thanks for being a
on.
friend of the podcast,
Let's go.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Sure. Real life brother right here, man.
Yeah, for
Hey,
real.
I want to, I'm not trying to invite myself to another episode, but we should do one where we just go on a tangent and just talk about stuff.
Well, there's so
Yes,
much
we
more I
should.
could talk about. Actually, when I hang out with this dude, we will stay up till
4 o'clock in the morning, dude.
yeah, it'll be like yes, Laura knows.
I was about to say, Laura's like, you better shut your mouth.
We will talk from like 9 a.m. till like 2 a.m. and then I don't want to stop talking, but then this
9 a.m. to 2
9
a.m.
p.m.,
9 a.m. to 2 a.m.
9 a.m. 2 a.m. I'm out too, bro. hey, I'll just start fillers. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But it's crazy the conversations we have. Like we really get into it, and like this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't even
For real.
get to talk about like you're like way back before you were even a worship leader at the age of 18. I didn't even get to talk and ask you about your experience trying to go on The Voice.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like I want to talk about that too. I want to talk about
Hey,
retro gold.
keep the
Yeah, bro.
I was about to
Hey.
bring that up. Hey,
Retro gold. Hope worship.
people, keep the people wanting to come back.
Yeah.
It will definitely be a part 2 or maybe
Yeah.
a part 3. You
Hey.
know.
Facts.
Appreciate you being on,
Appreciate
bro.
you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, and thanks for listening. And we'll see you guys in the next one.